The basement smelled like damp concrete and forgotten things. Mold grew in the corners where the walls met the floor, dark spots spreading like bruises. I stood there in the half-light, filtering through a single ground-level window, looking at the metal cot they'd dragged down for me. The kind of cot you'd see in a prison cell or a cheap motel. The thin mattress had yellow stains on it. I didn't ask where it came from. I didn't want to know. My reflection stared back at me from a small, dusty mirror propped against the wall. 72 years old. Gray hair I used to keep neat now falling loose around my face. 72 years. And this is where I ended up. In a basement. In the house I bought with my own money. The house I'd turned into a home with my own two hands. Jessica stood at the top of the stairs, arms crossed, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against her designer purse. Those nails cost more than my weekly grocery budget. She had that look on her face, the one that said she'd already won, the one that said I was nothing but an inconvenience she'd finally solved. "This isn't a guest room anymore," she said, her voice sharp as broken glass. Each word was carefully chosen to cut. "You're just storage now. Stay out of the way." Storage? Like a box of Christmas decorations, like old furniture waiting for the dump. The door clicked shut. I heard the lock turn from the outside. The sound echoed in the concrete space. Click. Final. Dismissive. She thought she was putting me in my place. She thought she was finally getting rid of the old woman who'd been a burden to her perfect little life. She probably went upstairs and poured herself a glass of wine, congratulating herself on how she'd handled the mother-in-law problem. What Jessica didn't know, what my son didn't know, was that I was the only name on the deed. The house was mine, every brick, every board, every nail, and I had a realtor coming in exactly 1 hour. While they thought they'd locked me away in the darkness, I was about to step into the light, and I was taking everything with me. Let me tell you how I got here, and more importantly, let me tell you how I got out. 23 years ago, I bought this house. Not we, not my son and his wife, me, Margaret Ann Henderson. I used the life insurance money from when my husband passed away, $85,000 that he'd worked overtime for years to afford. I combined it with my savings from 40 years of teaching elementary school, 40 years of shaping young minds, of grading papers at midnight, of spending my own money on classroom supplies because the school district had no budget. It was a beautiful 3-bedroom ranch in a quiet neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio. White shutters that I painted myself every 3 years. A maple tree in the front yard that turned brilliant red every October. A porch where I imagined watching my grandchildren play, where I'd set up a swing and flower boxes filled with petunias. The house cost $180,000 back then. I put down $90,000 and took out a small mortgage I knew I could handle on my pension. It was my dream home, my safe place after years of sharing cramped apartments and rental houses. Finally, something that was mine. My son, David, was drowning back then. He'd just lost his job at the manufacturing plant when they moved operations to Mexico. He had a newborn daughter, Emma, and his wife, Jessica, was on maternity leave. They had no income, no savings. Their credit was destroyed from medical bills when Emma was born 6 weeks premature. The hospital bills had been crushing, over $200,000 for the NICU stay. Insurance covered most of it, but the remainder ruined them financially. They were about to be evicted from their apartment. I got the call on a Tuesday night. David was crying, my grown son crying on the phone, saying they had nowhere to go. They'd be on the street in 2 weeks. So I did what any mother would do. I bought this house and invited them to live with me. Just temporarily, I thought, just until they got back on their feet. 6 months, maybe a year. "You saved our lives, Mom," David said when they moved in. He hugged me tight. "We'll never forget this." I believed him. I put the down payment. I paid the mortgage every month from my pension, $780 a month for 15 years until it was paid off. The deed had only my name on it because David's credit score was 480. He couldn't qualify for a library card, much less a mortgage. But I told myself it was our family home. That's what mothers do. We share. We sacrifice. We build foundations for our children to stand on. Jessica moved in with her yoga mats and her essential oils and her judgment. She was 26 years old and had opinions about everything. From day one, she made it clear she didn't want me there. But David, my sweet, weak David, he never stood up to her, not once, not when she rolled her eyes at my cooking and ordered takeout instead, not when she rearranged all my furniture without asking because it wasn't her style, not when she started talking about me like I was a piece of outdated decor that didn't match her aesthetic vision. "Your mom still uses that old floral couch?" she'd say to David, loud enough for me to hear. "It's so 1990s. When is she going to update?" I cooked their meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for years. I raised their 2 children while they built their careers. Jessica went back to work as a marketing consultant. David found a new job in sales. I was the one who walked Emma to the school bus. I was the one who helped little Marcus with his homework. I changed diapers, wiped tears, attended parent-teacher conferences when they were too busy. I cleaned their messes. I did their laundry. I asked for nothing in return, just respect, just a place in the home I'd bought, just acknowledgement that I mattered. That was too much to ask. It started small, little cuts that barely bled at first. First, Jessica labeled my food in the refrigerator, my yogurt, my leftovers from the meals I'd cooked. She used a label maker, the kind with the plastic tape. "Margaret's do not touch," like I was stealing from them in my own house, like I was a roommate they didn't trust. "It's just so we don't eat your special foods by accident, Mom," David explained, not meeting my eyes. "Jessica's trying to organize the kitchen better." Then she moved my favorite chair out of the living room, the burgundy recliner that my husband had bought me for our 30th anniversary, the one I'd rocked both my babies in and then my grandbabies. The leather was worn soft from years of use. It had a small burn mark from when David was 10 and tried to hide the fact that he'd been playing with matches. "We're making some changes, Mom," David said, still not looking at me. "You understand. Jessica's redesigning the living room. The chair doesn't fit the new color scheme. We put it in the garage." The garage, where we kept the trash cans and the lawnmower. I understood. I understood that my son had forgotten who paid for the roof over his head, who had saved him from homelessness, who had sacrificed her dream of a quiet retirement to raise his children. Then they took my bedroom, the master bedroom with the garden view where I'd slept for 20 years, where I'd cried myself to sleep after my husband died, where I kept his photo on the nightstand, the one from our wedding day, where he was young and strong and smiling at me like I was the only woman in the world. "We need it for a home office," Jessica announced one Saturday morning. She didn't ask. She told me. "David and I both work from home now. We need the space. You can take the smaller room down the hall." The smaller room was 10 by 12, barely big enough for a bed and a dresser. The closet was a fraction of the size. I had to box up most of my clothes. I moved. I didn't fight. I was tired. I was grieving. I missed my husband every single day, and without that bedroom, I felt like I was losing him all over again. I took the guest room with the single window that faced the neighbor's fence. 6 feet of vinyl fence, that's all I could see. No garden, no sunrise, just fence. But it wasn't enough for her. 6 months ago, Jessica decided she needed that room too, for a wellness studio. She'd started an Instagram account where she posted videos of herself doing yoga and meditation. She had 3,000 followers and believed she was an influencer. "You can stay in the basement," she said, like she was doing me a favor, like she was being generous. "It's finished. There's a bathroom down there. You'll have privacy." The basement, cold, dark, smelling of mildew and the boxes of Christmas decorations and old tax returns. The bathroom had a toilet that ran constantly, a sound like a stream that never stopped. The shower had rust stains and black mold in the grout. The concrete floor made my joints ache, my knees, my hips. The arthritis that had been manageable upstairs became constant pain down there. The single window sat at ground level, showing me nothing but people's shoes walking past. Sneakers, high heels, dog paws. That was my view, the underside of the world. They moved me down there on a Tuesday morning. David carried my things in silence. 3 trips up and down those stairs. He wouldn't look at me. His face was red, ashamed maybe, but not ashamed enough to stop. "It's just temporary, Mom," he mumbled on the last trip, "just until we figure things out." "Figure what out? How to erase me completely?" I found my husband's photo in the trash that night. The frame was cracked down the middle, right through his face. I pulled it out from under coffee grounds and used tissues. "It was an accident," Jessica said when I confronted her the next morning. She didn't even look up from her phone. "I was cleaning. It fell into the trash can, under garbage." That's when I knew. I wasn't family anymore. I was storage, something to be kept out of sight until I stopped being useful altogether, or until I died and they could finally have their perfect house to themselves. Last week I couldn't sleep. The basement walls seemed to close in on me at night. The ceiling was low, just 7 feet. I could hear every footstep above me, Jessica's heels clicking across the kitchen floor, David's heavy tread going to the refrigerator, my grandchildren running and laughing, sounds that used to bring me joy, but now just reminded me how far away they were. I went upstairs for a glass of water around midnight. The house was dark and quiet. I moved like a ghost through rooms I used to own, past furniture I used to sit on, under lights I used to turn on whenever I wanted. That's when I heard them. Jessica and David in their bedroom, my old bedroom, talking in hushed voices. I stopped in the hallway, my hand on the wall. "How much longer do we have to keep her here?" Jessica's voice, irritated and tired, the voice she used when discussing problems that wouldn't go away. "I don't know. A few more years, maybe?" David sounded uncertain, weak. "A few more years? David, I can't do this. She's always here, always underfoot. The kids are starting to ask questions. Emma asked me yesterday why Grandma lives in the basement like some kind of I don't even want to say it. Keep your voice down. I'm serious. Once the housing market peaks, and Richard said it's going up another 10% by next summer, we sell this place, put her in one of those state homes, and finally start our real life. This house will be worth at least $450 by then. Split that and we can buy something new, something that's actually ours, a fresh start. My heart stopped. $450,000. My house, my equity, my life's work. They'd already spent it in their minds. Silence. She won't like it, David said quietly. The home thing, she'll fight it. She doesn't have to like it. She doesn't have a choice. This is our house now. She's just here, like furniture, old furniture we inherited and can't get rid of. Jessica laughed, actually laughed. Besides, those state homes aren't that bad. She'll have other old people to talk to. She'll adjust. And honestly, David, we've done enough. We let her live here for 20 years. We fed her. We took care of her. She should be grateful. Let her live here. Let her. In the house I bought. I stood in the dark hallway, my hand gripping the empty water glass so tight I thought it would shatter. My whole body shook, not with sadness, not anymore, with something colder, harder, clarity. Our house. They thought this was their house. They'd already shipped me off to die in some underfunded facility where I'd be forgotten, where I'd share a room with a stranger and eat pureed food and wait for a death that couldn't come fast enough. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Tears were for people who had no power. Screaming was for people who had no plan. I had both. I went back to the basement, my legs steady despite the rage coursing through me. I opened the cedar chest at the foot of my cot, the chest my grandmother had given me when I got married. Inside, wrapped in plastic to protect it from the moisture, was the original deed to the house. I unfolded it carefully. The paper was thick, official. My name in bold letters, Margaret Ann Henderson. Purchase date, March 15th, 2002. Mortgage paid in full, March 15th, 2017. No David Henderson, no Jessica Henderson, just me. I took out my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Richard Henderson, no relation. Just the realtor who'd helped me buy this place 23 years ago. He'd sold me the house, watched me paint it, stopped by over the years to see how I was doing. He was semi-retired now, but we'd kept in touch over the years. Birthday cards, Christmas cookies, the occasional lunch. I pressed call. It rang 4 times. Maggie? His voice was sleepy. I'd woken him up. It's midnight. Are you okay? Richard, I said, my voice steady as stone, I need to sell my house, fast. A pause. I heard him sitting up. How fast are we talking, Maggie? I need it done by the end of the week. That's ambitious. That's Maggie. What's going on? Are you in some kind of trouble? I'm in the kind of trouble that ends when I leave this house. Another pause. Longer this time. Richard had known me long enough to hear the steel in my voice, to know I wasn't being dramatic. I taught his daughter in 3rd grade back when I was still in the classroom. I'd attended his wife's funeral 5 years ago. I'll make some calls in the morning, he said. I have a developer who's been looking in your neighborhood. They're buying up properties to renovate and flip. Cash buyer. They move fast. Perfect. Maggie, are you sure about this? I looked around the basement, at the metal cot with its stained mattress, at the cardboard boxes of my life photo albums, my mother's china, my teaching awards, all packed away like garbage. at the single bulb hanging from the ceiling, harsh and fluorescent, at the small pile of my clothes in the corner because there was no dresser down here. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Okay, Richard said. Okay, I'll call you first thing tomorrow. I hung up and looked around the basement one more time. I had 72 hours to pack what mattered, 72 hours to disappear. I moved like a ghost through my own house for the next 3 days. Jessica didn't notice. She never noticed me anymore unless I was in her way or unless she needed something. "Did you pick up my dry cleaning?" she asked Wednesday morning, not looking up from her phone. "No," I said. She looked up then, surprised. I never said no. "Why not?" "Because I'm not your maid, Jessica." I walked away, let her stare. Richard called Wednesday morning while they were both at work. I was in the basement folding my clothes into a suitcase. "I have an offer," he said. $385,000. Cash. The developer wants to gut it and flip it. They can close Friday. $385,000. My hands trembled as I held the phone. "Take it." "Maggie, you could probably get 420 if you waited a month. Maybe 430. The market's... I don't want to wait. I can't wait. Take it." "Are you absolutely certain?" I thought about Jessica's voice. "She's just storage now." I thought about David's silence, his weakness, his betrayal. I thought about the state home they'd already chosen for me in their minds. "I'm certain." "Okay, I'll draw up the papers. Can you meet me at my office tomorrow at 2? We'll sign everything. They want to do a walk-through Friday morning, and we can close at noon." "I'll be there." Thursday at 2 o'clock, I took the bus to Richard's office. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Jessica thought I was at the library. I signed papers for an hour. My hand cramped from all the signatures, but I didn't care. Each signature was a step toward freedom. "Where will you go?" Richard asked gently. "I have a plan," I said, and I did. Friday morning, Jessica and David left for work at 8:30 like always. Jessica's white SUV pulled out of the driveway, music blaring through her expensive sound system. David followed in his sedan 10 minutes later. He'd been quiet all week, barely speaking to me. Maybe he sensed something. Maybe he was just avoiding me as usual. The house fell silent. I had packed 2 suitcases. My clothes, not many. I didn't need much. My photo albums, pictures of my parents, my wedding, David as a baby, my grandchildren, my mother's jewelry box, rosewood with a ballerina that still spun when you opened it, my husband's wedding ring, which I'd kept in a small velvet pouch, the deed to the house, my birth certificate, my marriage license, the important things, the irreplaceable things. Everything else, the furniture I'd bought, the dishes I'd collected, the memories painted into these walls, I left behind. Let them have it. Let them keep the couch and the dishes and the beds. Material things. They'd stolen enough from me. They couldn't have my dignity anymore. Richard arrived at 9 o'clock with the new owners, a young couple, maybe 30 years old, holding hands as they walked up the driveway. The wife was pregnant, her hand resting on her belly. They had kind faces, nervous smiles. They looked at the house like it was a dream come true. "Mrs. Henderson," the husband said, extending his hand. "I'm James. This is my wife, Sarah. We can't thank you enough for this opportunity. This house is perfect for us." We sat at my kitchen table. The table I'd bought at an estate sale 30 years ago, the one where I'd served thousands of meals, and I signed the final papers. Sarah offered me tea. She'd brought a thermos with her. chamomile tea she'd made that morning. I almost cried. The current residents, James asked carefully, glancing around the house. They know about the sale? They'll be informed today, I said. And they're okay with it? They don't have a choice, I said. The house is mine. It's always been mine. Sarah reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I don't know your story, she said softly, but I'm sorry you have to leave. Don't be sorry for me, I said. I'm not leaving. I'm escaping. The money transferred to my account at exactly 11:15 a.m. I watched my phone screen as the numbers appeared. $385,000 Tarn. More money than I'd need for the rest of my life. More money than they'd ever see. Richard helped me load my suitcases into his car. James and Sarah stood on the porch, my old porch, smiling and waving. A moving truck was scheduled to arrive at 1 o'clock with their furniture. The sold sign went up in the yard as we drove away. Big red letters, final. I didn't look back. I'd already rented a small furnished apartment across town, 1 bedroom, a balcony, carpet instead of concrete, windows that showed the sky instead of shoes. I was unpacking my teacups when David called. David called me at 4:30. I was in my new apartment, arranging my mother's china in the cabinet, each piece carefully placed, each one a memory of Sunday dinners and holidays. Mom, Mom, where are you? His voice was high, panicked. There are people at the house. They say they own it. They're changing the locks. There's a moving truck. Mom, what's happening? I sat down in my new chair, the one that was mine, in the apartment that was mine. I took a slow breath. I sold the house, David. Silence, complete silence. I could hear him breathing. Then, what? I sold my house, the one I bought 23 years ago, the one with only my name on the deed, the one I paid for with my husband's life insurance and my life savings. You can't just, Mom, we live there. Our stuff is there. The kids' rooms are there. You live there, past tense. The new owners are very nice. James and Sarah. They have a baby coming. I think they'll be very happy there. Happier than I was. Jessica's voice in the background, shrill and rising. Let me talk to her. Let me talk to that crazy bitch. I heard the phone being grabbed, fumbling sounds. You crazy old woman, Jessica screamed. You can't do this. We'll sue you. We'll call the police. We'll... Sue me for what, Jessica? My voice was calm, cold. Selling my own property? The house I paid for? The house you moved me into the basement of because I was just storage? Her breathing got faster, angry, desperate. I could picture her face, red and twisted. You're insane. This is illegal. You can't just sell a house that people are living in. Actually, I can. I did. The law is very clear. I'm the sole owner. I gave 30 days' notice to the occupants. I followed every legal requirement. I checked with a lawyer. Everything is completely legal. I hadn't actually given them notice, but they didn't know that. And by the time they figured it out, it wouldn't matter. David's your son, Jessica shrieked. You owe us. We took care of you. We let you live with us. I laughed. Actually laughed. It felt good. It felt like breathing after being underwater. You let me live with you? You let me? Jessica, I bought that house. I paid for it. You lived with me. You and David and your children lived in my house, ate my food, used my utilities, and paid me nothing, not one single dollar in rent in 23 years. We took care of you. You put me in a basement and planned to ship me to a state home so you could cash out my equity. I heard you, Jessica. Last week, midnight, you thought I was asleep. I heard everything. Silence. You were eavesdropping? Her voice was smaller now. In my own house? No. I was getting water. You were loud. You said I was like old furniture. You said the house would be worth 450,000. You'd already spent my money, my life's work. You'd already shipped me off to die somewhere. David's voice again, breaking. Mom, I didn't mean... We were just talking. We wouldn't have actually... Yes, you would have. You've done everything else she wanted. You've let her erase me piece by piece. My chair, my bedroom, my dignity. Why would this be different? Where are we supposed to go? David's voice was small, childlike. The voice of the boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. But that boy was gone. This was a man who'd watched his wife abuse his mother and said nothing. I don't know, David. Maybe you can find an apartment. Maybe you can ask Jessica's parents for help. They have that big house in Cincinnati. Or maybe... I paused, let it sink in. Maybe you can figure it out the way I had to when you lost your job 23 years ago. The way I figured it out when your father died and left me alone with a mortgage and a broken heart. You're adults. You have jobs. You have credit now. Figure it out. The house was worth over 400,000, Jessica screamed back on the phone again. That's our money. You're stealing from us. No, I said quietly. That was my money, my equity, from my house, that I bought. I sold it for $385,000. It's in my account now, every single penny, and you will never touch a dime of it. I hung up. The phone rang immediately. David. I didn't answer. It rang again, 17 times in the next hour. I didn't answer. Jessica sent text messages, horrible things, calling me every name you could imagine, threatening me with lawyers and police and hell itself. I blocked her number. David sent one final text at midnight. I hope you're happy. You just destroyed your family. I replied, You destroyed it first. I just walked away from the wreckage. Then I blocked him too. I heard from a neighbor, sweet Mrs. Chin, who'd lived next door for 15 years, that Jessica and David had to move into a motel for 2 weeks while they searched for a rental. The embassy suites off the highway, $200 a night. They burned through their savings fast. The mortgage they could afford put them in a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. No home office, no wellness studio, no basement to hide unwanted mothers in. The children had to share a room. Jessica had to get rid of most of her furniture. No space for it. Mrs. Chen told me Jessica cried when the movers took her things to storage. Everything's ruined, she kept saying. Everything. David's children, my grandchildren, started asking questions. Emma, 8 years old and smart as a whip, asked her father why they had to leave the house. Where did Grandma go? Why couldn't they say goodbye? Marcus, only 5, asked if they'd been mean to me. Did we make Grandma sad? He asked David. David didn't answer. I sent Emma and Marcus cards for their birthdays. I included a note with my new address, telling them they could visit any time, that I loved them, that none of this was their fault. Jessica threw the cards away. Mrs. Chen told me that too. She saw them in the trash when she walked past their apartment complex. But Emma had already memorized my address. Smart girl. She showed up at my door 3 weeks later, holding Marcus's hand. They'd taken 2 buses to get to me. Emma had saved her allowance for the fare. Grandma, she said when I opened the door, are you okay? I pulled them both into my arms and cried, really cried, for the first time since this all began. We had cookies and milk. I showed them my balcony garden. Marcus helped me water the tomatoes. Emma asked if she could stay. I have to take you home, sweetheart, I said, but you can visit whenever you want." "Dad says you're mean," Marcus said. "Are you mean, Grandma?" "No, baby, I'm not mean. I just decided I matter too." David tried to reconcile. He showed up at my apartment one evening in November, flowers in hand. Carnations, my least favorite flower. He didn't even remember. His eyes were red. He'd been crying. "I'm sorry, Mom. I should have stood up for you. I should have stopped her. I should have been a better son." I looked at him. My son, my weak, passive son, who'd let his wife destroy his own mother's dignity, and I felt nothing. No anger, no love, just a vast, quiet distance, like looking at a stranger. "You should have," I agreed, "but you didn't, and now you know what it costs." "Can we start over? Can you forgive me?" "Forgiveness isn't the problem, David. Trust is. You showed me who you are. When it mattered, you chose her cruelty over my humanity. You can't unchoose that." "I love you, Mom. I'm sure you do. But love without action is just words, and I'm done living in a house built on words." I closed the door. He stood in the hallway for 10 minutes. I could see his shadow under the door. Then he left. I live in a small 2-bedroom condo now on the quiet side of town. The second bedroom is for my grandchildren when they visit. I have twin beds with matching quilts, a bookshelf full of children's books, a toy box that Emma and Marcus fill a little more each time they come. I have a balcony where I grow tomatoes and herbs, basil, oregano, thyme. I make sauce from scratch and freeze it in portions. I have a reading chair by the window where the light is good. I drink my tea in the morning Earl Grey, hot, with a splash of cream, and watch the birds. Cardinals, blue jays, sometimes a hawk. I'm taking a painting class at the community center. Watercolors. I'm terrible at it, but I don't care. I'm learning that I can have a life that doesn't revolve around being useful to people who don't value me, that I can be bad at something and still enjoy it. I'm volunteering at the library on Tuesdays and Thursdays, reading to children, helping people find books. The head librarian, Carol, has become a friend. We get lunch sometimes. We talk about books and life and the choices we make. The money sits in my account, $385,000. I've used some for travel. I spent 2 weeks in Maine last month. The coast was beautiful, rocky and wild and free. I ate lobster and watched the sunset and slept in a bed and breakfast where nobody knew my name or my story. Some of the money will go to my grandchildren's education funds. I set up trusts for Emma and Marcus. They'll get it when they turn 18. Enough for college, enough for a start. Not a penny for their parents. And the rest is mine. For the first time in my life, something is completely, utterly mine. I sleep well now. No more concrete floors, no more mildew smell, no more footsteps above my head reminding me I'm beneath everyone. I wake up to sunlight instead of darkness. I eat when I want. I come and go as I please. I am visible again. Last week I saw Jessica at the grocery store. Our eyes met across the produce section. She looked tired. Older. Her hair wasn't as perfect as it used to be. She opened her mouth like she was going to say something. I turned and walked away. She doesn't get my words anymore. She doesn't get my time. She doesn't get anything from me ever again. If you're watching this, and you've ever been treated like storage in a home you built, in a family you sacrificed for, in a life you gave everything to, remember this: You are not storage. You are the foundation, and foundations can move. Sometimes the only way to teach people your worth is to take it away and let them crumble without you, to stop being the ground they stand on and watch them fall. I spent 23 years being stepped on, being used, being slowly erased by people who thought I was too old, too tired, too trapped to fight back. I wasn't, and neither are you. Your name is on the deed of your own life, not theirs, yours. You can sell it to yourself. You can buy yourself back. You can walk away from people who treat you like you don't matter and build something new where you're the center instead of the basement. I'm Margaret Ann Henderson. I'm 72 years old. I live in a condo with a balcony garden and a reading chair by the window. And I'm not storage. I never was.